Over in the pages of DC Comics, the publisher has been relentlessly teasing a brand new Green Lantern title. You can trace back some of the seeds to this secondary Green Lantern series by taking a look at the Dark Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, where we got to see John Stewart reunite with some of the members over in his family. The status quo is very interesting in the core Green Lantern title, as the United Planets went ahead and seized control of the Green Lantern Corps. Plus, Sector 2814 has been quarantined. In some of the recent issues of Green Lantern over in the backup series, we got to see a different version of John Stewart team up with a young Green Lantern known as Shepard to do battle against the Revenant Queen and Radiant Dead. My name is Arako Braddock, and today, let's go ahead and see if Shepard can unite with our version of John Stewart in order to save the universe. But before we get deeper into the video, want to encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button. John Stewart's time as the Green Lantern has come to an end, or so he thinks. A family tragedy calls him back home, and as John begins to reclaim the career he once left behind, he tries to embrace a peaceful post-superhero life. But when a terrifying and contagious force with a mysterious connection to Oa appears on Earth, the last Green Lantern of another universe comes seeking the only warrior to face this threat and win: the immortal guardian and builder, John Stewart himself. Can this brilliant but brash young lantern help John discover the qualities that made him one of the greatest lanterns of the entire Multiverse, featuring the first appearance of an iconic and terrifying new villain? Green Lantern War Journal Issue 1 is written over from Phillip Kennedy Johnson, featuring art from Montos, colors from Adriano Lucas, and letters from Dave Sharpe. In addition, here we also have a cover coming in directly over from Taj Tenfold. Really appreciate some of the expressions and various Green Lantern constructs that Tenfold was able to craft over in this comic book issue. And I want to extend a big thank you directly over to Phillip Kennedy Johnson, the writer of the series, for posting some preview pages over on his Twitter account. I really loved how this issue picked up right where the cliffhanger in Green Lantern issue 3 left off over in the backup story, and we get to see a group of astronauts react to what looks like an appearance over from the Revenant Queen and Radiant Dead. Really thought that artist Montos captures such an interesting line for some of these sequences. In addition to all these complicated tones, Montos is really trying to channel some of the horror elements over from Johnson's script with this mysterious ring that we left off on over in Green Lantern issue 3. One aspect that Montos employs throughout this issue that is just absolutely staggering here is how the negative space is utilized over on the comic book page. There's so many instances where Montos simply leaves an element blank along with colorist Adriano Lucas to really establish just how kind of like harrowing and intricate some of these page designs can be. Really think that Montos captures so much intrigue and nuance over across some of these pages. And when we go ahead and return over to John Stewart in his status quo that originated over from Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, I think this series went really grounded really quickly. It was great to kind of catch up with John and be introduced back over to his family members. Really think the relationship that he has over with his mother is incredibly touching throughout the comic book series. And I thought the way he sort of conjured his sister over with the construct was both sad and fitting, given that John has spent such a long time here. I also really liked all the subversive ways this issue connected over to the Worlds Without a Justice League, Dark Crisis, Green Lantern comic book. Given that issue a read over before this one will open up some really interesting plot dynamics that can be compared and contrasted in some fascinating ways. When some of the plot elements come in, I really appreciated the fact that Phillip Kennedy Johnson went ahead and introduced the United Planets back into the status quo by having John Stewart face off against this lantern known as Varon. Really thought that artist Montos got so creative with the level of negative space. The way these sort of panels are crunching under the weight of John Stewart's Green Lantern construct is so beautiful here. And I love how some of these panels are kind of shortened, they're smaller, they're crooked. There's just a lot of tension that Montos is able to capture over across this series from Philip Kennedy Johnson's script. Johnson does such a fantastic job writing some straight laced action heroes that have a level of gravitas to them. And that makes an artist like Montos really feel like a natural fit for his style of writing. When we got a little bit later into the issue and checked in over with Shepherd the Lantern in the Dark, I think the comic book got appropriately dreary. Really thought it was fascinating to see this issue kind of come full circle and to see the Shepherd try and fight back against the Radiant Dead, who seemed to tease our group of astronauts earlier in the series. Also, the way that Montos once again utilizes the negative space with a panel bleed is absolutely wonderful. I'm really just struck by seeing some of the unlettered pages that he delivers over on the comic book issue. This was also a really fun page over in the issue, once again showing Shepherd face off against the Radiant Dead. I particularly enjoyed it because of the lack of panel borders over on the comic book page. I think it brought out a different element to Montos's art that I think feels a little bit more chaotic. Especially, I think this is captured really well over from this panel bleed with the character almost sort of like vomiting what may be some sort of like ring spectrum, trace across this series here. Over in some of the interviews for this Green Lantern War Journal series, I think we've seen Philip Kennedy Johnson reference that he's sort of trying to play John Stewart as an 80s action hero. I really do think that this book is filled with levels of fantasy elements that readers naturally see progress alongside the Green Lantern property, and the way that Johnson was able to sort of dive deep into the characterization for John Stewart with some of the relationships over with his family, as well as his battle against Varon, I think really captured him as a strong individual across this series. So at the end of the day, I am incredibly happy over with Green Lantern War Journal. I think this comic book has so many intriguing plot threads that are coalescing over from the backup in the main Green Lantern series. If you really want to get the full context and scope of what Green Lantern War Journal has to offer, I really encourage you to go back, check out the Dark Crisis Green Lantern tie-in, check in over with those Green Lantern backups, and then go ahead and jump into this storyline. Having that additional context and seeing this alternate version of John made this issue so much more exciting for me. I can't wait to see artist Montos come back and deliver even more harrowing scenarios over for John and Shepherd as far as the DC Universe goes. I think it's very intriguing that John is currently trapped within this dark and harrowing status quo from a couple events ago over in the DC Universe, and having an alternate version of a familiar character go in and rescue him is absolutely staggering here too. Really am impressed with what Philip Kennedy Johnson brought over to this Green Lantern title, despite months and months of hype over for this comic book series. I think Montos' line is absolutely wonderful. Adriano Lucas delivers some great colors across this issue to accommodate the really in-depth and nuanced line over from Montos. I want to know from you, did you enjoy Green Lantern War Journal as much as I did? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for coming to check out our video review over for Green Lantern War Journal. We will be back to cover future issues of both Green Lantern series because I absolutely love this franchise. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.